The central, silent struggle of later life is that the things you choose not to tell often hold more power over your peace of mind than the things you openly regret. For so many of us, getting to retirement, well, it's supposed to be about freedom, right? But what if, even with all that newfound freedom, you still feel trapped? That's the very specific, very quiet struggle we're going to explore together.
Just let that sink in for a second. It's a real paradox, isn't it? You might finally be free from the 9 to 5, from all those daily pressures. But a secret you've been carrying for decades? Well, that can feel like its own kind of prison. It has these invisible walls that just seem to follow you everywhere. And it's a weight that doesn't get lighter with time. In fact, sometimes the quiet of retirement can actually make it feel heavier. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack why that is, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. So, let's start with the problem itself, the secret's silent weight. You know, we tend to think of a secret as this passive thing, like a memory we've locked away that we can choose to ignore. But the truth? It's not passive at all. It's an active, living part of our day-to-day mental landscape. That thing you've carried for, 30, maybe 40 years? It's not just a memory. It is an active, ongoing process. Every single day, part of your brain is working to suppress it, to monitor what you say, to steer clear of anything that might trigger it. Imagine it's like running a really complex piece of software in the background of your computer 24/7. It's always using up processing power, and it slows everything else down. This isn't just some vague feeling of guilt. It is a real, measurable mental exhaustion. It's the reason you might feel totally drained at the end of a perfectly peaceful day, or why you can't seem to focus on that new book. It's this low-grade, constant anxiety that just tags along. And this daily drain on our energy is something we can think of as the mind's hidden tax. To really get the true cost, we've got to look at the psychological mechanics behind it all. Because there's a reason this burden can feel especially heavy in our later years. Psychologists actually have a name for this, and it's perfect. They call it a cognitive tax. Just think about that. Every single day, a chunk of your mental energy, your focus, your clarity, your ability to just be present, is being paid out as a tax to keep that secret hidden. And that's the very same energy you need to enjoy retirement, to learn that new skill, to really connect with your family. The secret is quietly draining the very resources you worked your entire life to finally have the freedom to enjoy. And this tax, it affects something way deeper. There was a famous psychologist, Erik Erikson, who said that the main psychological job of later life is to achieve what he called ego integrity. Basically, it's being able to look back on your life, the good, the bad, all of it, and feel a sense of peace and wholeness. But a big unresolved secret, it's like a structural flaw in that story. It's a chapter you always have to skip over, a missing piece of the puzzle that makes it almost impossible to get to that place of true acceptance. So the stakes here are really higher than just feeling a little uncomfortable. That secret is actively getting in the way of a peaceful life review. It's draining the battery you need for everything else. And then there's the risk of what happens after you're gone. That secret could come out and create what you might call post-mortem chaos, causing so much confusion and pain and damaging the very family you were probably trying to protect in the first place. So this isn't about avoiding it anymore. It's about seeing the urgent need for a plan. And that brings us to the solution. Now, I want to be really clear here. This is not about just blurting out a secret and hoping for the best. That can be terrifying and frankly, not very productive. Instead, this is about being intentional, being strategic, in creating a way for you to take back control of your own story. The answer to that cognitive tax is a framework we're calling the Structured Resolution Protocol, or SRP. And please hear this. This protocol is not about forced disclosure. It is about intentional resolution. It's a system designed to give you the power back, to safely lower that mental burden, and to make sure that you are the one who gets to decide how and when and even if your story is told.
At its heart, the SRP has two core defenses. First up is what we call the Confidante Test. This is all about sharing the secret with one single, carefully chosen and objective third party. Think a therapist, a lawyer, or a trusted advisor. Just the act of saying it out loud to someone neutral can dramatically reduce the mental energy you're spending to suppress it. The second part is the legacy versus damage assessment. This is a calm, rational process where you figure out if telling more people is truly necessary to prevent some future harm, whether it's financial, legal, or emotional, to the people you love. Okay, this all might sound logical, but I bet the question in your head is,
how in the world do I actually do this without making everything worse? And that is a totally fair question. So let's move from the what to the how. Let's build a bridge to a path forward that feels safe and manageable. So in this next section, we are going to walk through the detailed step-by-step guidance. Think of this as your personal roadmap for putting this protocol into practice in a way that feels controlled, safe, and maybe even empowering. The very first step before you do anything else is to define your why. Are you thinking about this mainly for self-care, to finally get that psychological liberation and peace of mind you deserve? If that's the case, your audience is probably just that one single neutral confidant. Or is your main goal legacy preservation, to stop future problems for your family? Well, if that's the driver, your audience might need to include specific family members, but in a very controlled way. You can have a little of both, of course, but knowing your main goal is what lights up the safest path forward. So here's our clear, actionable roadmap. We just covered step 1, define your why. Step 2 is to put that Confidante Test into action, get the secret out of your head, and stop paying that heavy cognitive tax. Step 3 is to create a Disclosure Contingency Plan. And finally, Step 4 uses a really powerful tool for the future. So let's take a closer look at how those last 2 steps actually work. All right, let's talk about your toolkit. We've got the Confidante Test. Next up, the Contingency Plan. This is basically a script. If you've decided that you do need to tell family, you prepare what you're going to say beforehand. This isn't about being robotic, it's about having a plan so you can stay in control emotionally and keep the conversation on track. And finally, there's a powerful tool called immaterial documentation. Think of it like a letter to the future. It's a sealed document left with your executor that explains the truth. It makes sure the facts are secure without forcing you into a difficult conversation right now. It's a way to ensure the truth comes out without demanding immediate turmoil. Now, as we start to use these tools, the feeling naturally starts to shift from one of burden to one of hope. We're now focusing on the real prize, the reason we'd even consider this journey, reclaiming your most precious resource. And this, right here, is the core wisdom to take away from all of this. For decades, you might have believed that silence was the price you had to pay for peace. But what we're seeing is that the mental cost of keeping that silence is so much greater than the difficulty of a planned, intentional resolution. True, lasting peace, it isn't found in a perfect, silent past. It's found in an authentic present. By taking this kind of structured approach, you are quite literally getting your mental energy back. You're freeing up all that brain power that was being taxed by the secret. And this isn't some abstract idea. This means more focus for your hobbies, more patience with your grandkids, more genuine enjoyment of a quiet morning with a cup of coffee. Your later years can finally be defined by what actually matters to you, not by some shadow from the past. Okay, let's bring this all together. We've talked about the problem, the psychology behind it, and the solution. This last section is about boiling it all down to one clear takeaway and a single, gentle challenge for you to consider. Here it is. If you only remember one thing from our time together, let it be this. The secret that's been haunting you is not a ghost. It is an active drain on your mental energy day in and out. And the solution isn't chaos. It's a calm, structured approach that is designed to put you back in control. So as you think about everything we've discussed, I want you to ask yourself this one simple question. Not what's the giant leap I have to take, but simply, what is the first, small, manageable step I could take? Because real liberation doesn't happen all at once. It just starts with a single choice. And this is that step. Right now, just take a quiet moment. You don't have to call them, you don't have to write an email. Just identify one person, one trusted, neutral third party, maybe a counselor, an attorney, an advisor. The simple act of just naming that person in your own mind, that is the true beginning of this process. It's private, it's safe, and it's incredibly powerful. As we finish up, let's just reflect for a moment. For so long, you may have believed that carrying the secret was the only way to keep the peace. But now we understand that the secrecy creates a constant mental burden, that cognitive tax that quietly gets in the way of the very peace you're looking for. I think the most helpful insight here is the power of a structured approach, especially that very first step, the Confidante Test. Just the simple act of safely sharing the truth with one trusted person can begin to lift that enormous weight. The reassuring thought I want to leave you with is this. By choosing a path of structured authenticity, you aren't just dealing with the past. You are reclaiming your full cognitive capacity, ensuring that your future years are lived not in the shadow of a secret, but with the full clarity and genuine peace you so richly deserve.